Okay, I had done the one on I want to knit a blankie, and the more I thought about it, even though it's difficult to see, it's a very simple thing. Um, all it is chain and single crochet. So if someone doesn't know how to chain and single crochet, the blankie material is not the best way to learn. So I have a simple cotton blend here, and let's see this one. Was this Euro Baby? Yeah, Euro Baby. Soft cotton and chunky. And okay, doing a slip knot, whatever way is easiest for you. Make a loop, fold the loop over what's on the bottom. Okay, this is tail, this is the working yarn. Move this over. Okay, and so then you just cinch it up, and you don't want it tight, you want it secure, always, not tight, just secure. This is the way that I hold my yarn. Let me pull this back a little bit. Okay, let's see how that does. Okay, that's how I hold my yarn. Okay, just have to find what works for you. But one thing that's pretty universal for most crocheters is they go over, that they have it coming down off of their index finger. Okay, so whatever works for you so that you can hold it and keep the tension that you have on the yarn about the same. And truth is, that comes with practice more than anything. Now, what we're going to do is, whenever you've probably done this, maybe done it with your fingers, it's called making a chain. Okay, you loop around counterclockwise and pull it through the hole. Okay, whenever you're casting on to start crocheting, you want to make sure that it's extremely loose. Okay, it's easy to have your chain be too tight, which will it'll appear whenever you've crocheted subsequent rows, it'll make it look very narrow on the bottom and wider on the top. So if you cast on, or rather if you chain very loosely, and sometimes if I'm having a difficult time getting my chain to remain loose, then I'll just go up a needle size. And like I said, this one, let's see, this is a size L. The yarn called for K through M, and it's 8 millimeters. Okay, so I have my slip knot on there. And you'll want to hold on to the tail. It makes it easier to move things around. Also, I keep my right index finger on my loop so that while I'm manipulating and getting more loops, I don't slide it off. Plus, if you get it down here, then it's easy for you to tighten up your slip knot. Just remember the circumference of the needle here on the body of the needle, that's where your size is really determined. You can see how much more narrow it is up around the neck. Okay, so it's easier to just, if you can, when you're starting out, just keep your left hand still all the time and do all the work, as much work as you can with your right hand. Okay, go counterclockwise, and that's what that little hook is for. Come back through the hole. And what you're doing with your left hand is you're letting that yarn move. See how it's moving over here? So you can pull out a loop. And then move it up onto the body of the needle so you can get the size right, but we want it a little bit loose. Okay? Counterclockwise, pull it through. Okay? And now if you have your left hand holding it real tight, then you're going to end up tightening everything. See how that got smaller? So keep this just loose enough, just holding the yarn in place. All right, and then come through. Go up, hold this. One thing that I often have to do, because over the years, I'm more of a knitter than a crocheter, but over the years, one of the things I've had problems with is my chains. And so I've made it a habit, after I make one, I hold it with my middle finger and my thumb, that chain that I just made, and I hold it simply to keep me from tightening it whenever I make the next chain. Okay? Okay, and then you can count these. 1, 2, 3, 4. and 5. That's the one still on the, it's like 5.5, because this will be 6. It's not made yet. We'll go ahead and make 6 just to practice. And 6. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now we're going to turn this over. Now a lot of crocheters have different ways of that first row of how they manipulate their chain work into the chain, because from here you're going to build up. One thing that I started doing some years ago after starting to do Tunisian crochet is I started turning it over and using these back bumps. See the center bumps here and here, 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 those center bumps. And what it does is it makes this very neat side the bottom, and it looks very nice. It's also very convenient if you end up joining pieces together. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to not tight, just secure, turn this over. Okay, I'm going to work into this first one right here. Okay, put the needle through, same thing, wrap counterclockwise, pull a loop through, but don't pull it all the way. Unlike your chain, which you pull all the way through, here you're going to keep them both on your needle. Loop again, then come through both of the loops. Okay, let's do that again. Go into the bump, counterclockwise, pull it through, and then you have 2 loops on your needle. Counterclockwise, come through both loops. And again through the center bump, counterclockwise, pull it through. Now you have 2. Counterclockwise, go through both. Okay, go into, you have 1 on your hook, go into the bump, pull a loop. You have 2 loops on your needle, counterclockwise, go through both loops. Last one, go through the bump. Oopsie. Counterclockwise, pull up a loop, another loop, come through both. Okay, and now you've made 1 row of single crochet. Now to begin the next row, I'm going to chain, which we've been doing, chain 1, which you just pull it through. Okay, that's what a chain looks like. And then I turn my work clockwise. Okay, it gives you a different edge, edge stitch, whether you go clockwise or counterclockwise. I go clockwise. Now, this first chain is actually going to be the first stitch. Okay, it's going to count as that first stitch. So the top of this stitch is right there. This is the chain for it. So we skip this one. We're not working into it. That single crochet is the work for that hole. Okay, make sure your tension's about right. This is where you go in. When you go in, want to make sure you're going through both bars of that row below. Counterclockwise, pull your loop through. Make sure the size is about the same for both loops. Counterclockwise, pull through both. Okay, and here's the next one. You can pull it apart to see. Okay, you want to make sure, go through, then look to make sure you went through both parts of the stitch. Counterclockwise, pull it up, and that one's loose, so I'm going to snug that a little bit. There we go. Pull it through, loop, come through both. Do it again, go through here, loop, keep your loop on there, loop, come through both. And then the last stitch, which was a chain. Okay, see the top of it? That's chain right there. And go through there. Make sure you go under 2 threads, and that's your single crochet. Chain 1, which is your first stitch of the next row. Turn my work clockwise. Okay, and there's that first opening there, and that chain is the stitch for that first opening. So we go into the second stitch. Go through, loop, loop, through both. Okay, through, loop, and then loop through both, and loop through both. And then your last one, the thing about your last stitch, just make sure that you're consistent. Always try to choose the same 2 threads, and make sure you get 2 threads for that chain. Okay? And then chain 1 and turn. And that's it, crocheting. And that is chaining. Okay? And let's see, if you chain, there's all sorts of fun things. Just chain up off of stitches. Right now I'm hooked on making all of these market bags. And with that, all that you do is you turn around and you single crochet, then chain 5. You're okay, bravo. And then single crochet. And what you end up doing row after row is you have this big mesh, and I'll be showing that on another video. Okay, so the reason why I did it on here is I think it was easier to see than with the I want to make a blankie yarn. Okay, and the I want to make a blankie yarn. So now, if you can do that, you can make a blankie. And as I'd said in another video, as I'd said before, my blankie with one of these monstrous cakes measured 30 by 50. And that was doing single crochet, which is pretty dense the whole way. And I chose a larger size needle. I used 12 millimeter. The yarn says, recommends an N needle, which is smaller than this, 12 millimeter, 11.5 is a P. And so anyway, I like the way the yarn moved whenever I worked with this size. And so we made our slip knot. Okay, and then make your chain as long as you like, plus 1 stitch. Plus 1 loop, rather, 1 chain. Now this is one case where I probably will, because this, yeah, I will. This is a 12 3/4 needle. Okay, and I'm going to use this hook to make my chain, because I tend to get it too tight with chenille yarns like this, chenille yarns. 2, loop around, come through, 3, loop around, come through, and loop around, come through. Okay, and however long you want yours to be, like I said, mine was 40 stitches wide. That means that I chained 41. Okay, and my one on the hook counted as the first stitch. And so if I flip it over, okay, let's say I'm at the end and flip it over, then this is my first middle bump. Okay, and that's the one that I would do that single crochet through, pull up a loop, and come through. Here's my second bump, and come through. And the next one, come through, and here's the last one, and come through. And then going to do that chain 1. Make sure that's not tight. Make sure that chain is not tight. If it's even a little bit loose, that's all right. Turn. Not going to work into this first one. See, we have our holes. Not going to work into that first one because the chain is just that stitch. Go into the next hole. There's your single crochet in the next one. Pull it through. And then this was the top of that chain stitch. Chain 1. And again, I'm going to turn it clockwise. Skip this first one. Come through both. Come through both. As long as you get 2 parts of the stitch. Okay, you need to have 2 bars of this chain stitch. Pull up, come through, chain one. And as you can see, if someone didn't know how to chain or do the single crochet, trying to demonstrate it with this Blankie yarn would be a little bit more difficult. So anyway, this is a total beginner learn to crochet. And let me grab one of those bags. I finished one today. These really don't take very long, and they make fantastic gifts. Here's one. Plus, now that plastic bags are becoming a thing of the past, thank goodness. And let me raise this up a bit so you can see more of the bag. And if you know how to chain and single crochet, you can make one of these fantastic little market bags. And boy, are they stretchy, because those chain stitches really give. And all of this is just single crochet. And I am going to do a video specifically on how to do this. But if you know how to, let's see. Oh, here's one. Okay, here's one. Okay, if you know how to chain and single crochet, this is a very big washcloth. And the reason why it's a big washcloth is I wanted to see how big a washcloth the Line Brand Re-Up yarn would make. And now I know. Let's see, single crochet. I think I did it on the recommended hook size, which is I 5.5 millimeter. And it's just the bottom chain, single crochet all the way up. This is up. Bravo, you are fine. And it ended up being 12 1/8 by 9 1/8, so a little over 12 by 9. It's a good size rag. And cotton blends, or pure or 100% cotton, which this is recycled cotton. Something interesting about that, it is machine washable and dryable. It's 85% cotton, 15% polyester. But what fascinated me about this yarn, like I said, it's called Re-Up, was that I did not realize that using recycled cotton saves 5,900 cups of water per ball in creating cotton yarn. So of course, I'm all in favor of that. And these little guys are only like $2, and that's a nice deal. But anyway, I haven't yet made a market bag out of the Re-Up yarn, but I am going to. So if you can single crochet, chain and single crochet, that's some ideas. One thing good about practicing making dishcloths, wash rags, whatever you want to call it, you can't do any damage, and you're still going to end up with something useful, okay? But it can help you to become consistent without skipping stitches, okay, or putting in extra stitches. And so it'll help you get some uniformity to your stitch sizes before you move on to more advanced things. However, a market bag, I mean, you can have all kinds of mistakes in there and nobody would even know it, and it's still going to be useful, just like a dishcloth. And then one thing I did learn the other day, I had a small swatch of the I Want to Make a Blankie. I had this little swatch of the Blankie yarn. And I had a spill over here from my humidifier. This is very absorbent. I was curious about whether or not it was. Soaked it up in no time at all. And so yes, it is very absorbent. So have fun. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and please leave comments. Let me know what you think, and comments, room for improvement always. Let me know. You have a good one.